The Lucy Letby conviction triggered one of the most powerful moral panics in modern British history, and now, 2 years later, we're seeing a second one form. First, it was the fear of a nurse who betrayed our trust. Now that fear is that the justice system may have done the same. The Criminal Cases Review Commission is examining new medical evidence from international experts, and something unusual is happening. The outrage once aimed squarely at Lucy Letby is being redirected to something far more uncomfortable: the medical interpretations used in the case and the criminal justice system itself. A new anxiety is emerging, a counter-panic. So what brought us to this new inflection point? Lucy Letby, a former neonatal nurse, was convicted of murdering 7 infants and the attempted murder of a further 6. For many, the verdict brought a sense of closure, but now the CCRC is reviewing fresh scientific critiques, including those involving insulin testing, where experts question if the C-peptide ratios used truly proved poisoning. The prosecution argued that the insulin results were a smoking gun, but several endocrinologists now warn that the C-peptide ratio, the key test used in the trial, can mimic synthetic insulin where no poisoning occurred. In other words, the test can create the illusion of deliberate injection. The prosecution categorised the presence of air embolism as evidence of intentional harm. In contrast, the defence experts suggested it may result from natural causes or recognise complications in medically fragile neonates. Similar findings interpreted as liver trauma have also been challenged by critics who argue such signs could reflect post-mortem changes or handling related effects in premature infants. Additionally, rare and sudden neonatal collapses are cited as potential indicators of natural, unexplained causes rather than deliberate action. And these uncertainties are exactly how moral panics form, when complexity is flattened into certainty. For many people, even questioning the case feels uncomfortable, perhaps even offensive. But scientific evidence is not static, it evolves. This isn't a conspiracy, it's the same process that was used to overturn the conviction in the Sally Clark case, where statistical certainty crumbled under scrutiny. So the public is asking a legitimate question. What if the system got it wrong? What if the panic that formed after Lucy Letby's arrest influenced how evidence was interpreted in court? And if this could happen here, what protects us? The result is unprecedented. Britain is clearly split between 2 equal powerful fears. On one side there's a killer nurse, and on the other side is the fear of a broken justice system. Both are driven by emotion as much as evidence. And to understand how we reach this moment in time, we need to take a step back into how moral panics formed. Truly understand what happened in the Lucy Letby case, we need sociologist Stanley Cohen's definition of what a moral panic is, and he tells us that it occurs when a person or group becomes defined as a threat to societal values. And once that threat is identified, 3 critical things happen. First, the creation of a folk devil. Every moral panic produces a symbolic villain. In this case, the folk devil wasn't just an accused killer. It was a nurse, a profession associated with trust, care and safety. The media seized on this symbolism immediately. The headlines were not descriptions. They were archetypes: evil monster, cold and calculating, killer nurse. They turned Lucy Letby into the embodiment of society's darkest fears, betrayal from within. Once a folk devil is created, the panic gains momentum. Further, neonatal medicine is extraordinarily technical. It involves fragile physiology, rare collapses, complex biomedical markers, and uncertain patterns and statistical noise. Most of this disappeared from media coverage. The public's narrative was simplified into babies died when Lucy Letby was on shift. Correlation became causation, coincidence became intent, and suspicion became certainty. At the time the trial began, the public story was already written. And this is a hallmark of a moral panic. And as the moral panic intensified, it didn't stay confined to Lucy Letby because it expanded to National Health Service managers, hospital leadership, and the broader health system itself. Public anger demanded inquiries, accountability, and resignations. As the panic spread outward, the entire system was seen as morally contaminated. But unlike most moral panics, this one didn't end with punishment. It split and began again. The narrative widened from killer nurse to a failing institution. To understand this dual panic surrounding the Lucy Letby case, we need to revisit 3 historical parallels that reveal how societies behave when fear collides with complexity. First, the Salem witch trials. Here, a frightened community was under pressure. There was a perceived threat, there was a symbolic villain, and the evidence was being replaced by emotion. And the punishment was delivered with certainty. And then, of course, regret arrived too late. The blueprint was unmistakable. And then as we fast forward into the 1980s, rumours of ritual abuse spread across the US and UK. Talk shows amplified hysteria. Investigations collapsed under public pressure. People were convicted on emotionally driven narratives that later fell apart. The cycle repeated again. The threat, the folk devil, hysteria, punishment, and then finally reversal. And this isn't the first time that Britain has walked into a panic driven by expertise. Over 700 sub-postmasters were prosecuted based on faulty software. Courts trusted the expert evidence. Reputations were destroyed, and only decades later did the truth emerge. This comparison matters because both the Horizon Post Office case and the Letby case revolve around complex technical testimony that ordinary jurors were expected to evaluate. When complexity meets fear, justice becomes fragile. And this is why the Lucy Letby debate mirrors historical panics, because technical evidence becomes an emotional narrative. Which brings us to today. We have 2 competing fears, each with real emotional power. A society torn between 2 terrifying possibilities, and the UK is caught between these 2 competing fears. First, we had the fear that Lucy Letby is guilty. Families may be re-traumatised if a killer nurse could walk free, a monstrous betrayal of trust. And then we had the fear that Lucy Letby is innocent, a miscarriage of justice which may have occurred. Resistance to review looks like institutional defensiveness. If this can happen once, it can happen again. This dual fear is rare and it's very dangerous because when 2 competing panics collide, evidence becomes secondary. Society becomes paralysed. We are standing between 2 terrifying possibilities. One is a nurse killer and the other is a broken justice system that imprisoned an innocent woman. And both fears feel equally justified. Importantly, justice doesn't collapse in one dramatic moment. It collapses one unexamined assumption at a time. The Letby case sits inside a centuries-old pattern where fear clashes with complexity and justice becomes frail. And that's where the Lucy Letby case sits today, not in certainty, but in unresolved tension. If you value analysis over sensationalism, like and subscribe. Your support keeps complex legal and medical scrutiny in the public eye. Tell me in the comments section below, is this justice served or a moral panic repeating itself? I'll see you in the next breakdown, but for now, take care.